With the new Master Duel season upon us, what is the worst rank in Yu-Gi-Oh? Hello guys and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, I have my argument for why Diamond is the worst. And more specifically, Diamond 4 and 5 are the worst experience in Master Duel. It's just the worst gameplay experience you can have in Master Duel, period, across the board. And I'm going to give you some reasonings. First and foremost, it is a new season, right? It's the second day of a new season. So a lot of people are experimenting with things, right? Which makes it infinitely worse, right? Because these are the same players that just came from Master and who are just trying to get back there. And they're the people who just barely made it to Master and are now just goofing around. Because they're like, it's fun, it's fine, it's a new season. So you get an amalgamation of players, right, who are not necessarily trying to climb, but who are more specifically just trying to piss you off in the most infuriating ways, right? For example, playing this abomination. Yay, stun. Or, mind you, is it this one? Not that one. No. I think it's this one. Or this abomination. Whoa, stun. Or, better yet, this abomination, which I couldn't even explain to you what the hell is happening here. Right? Now you have those players who are playing some out of the world, out of this world, really wacky, really stupid, really silly stuff that you just can't prepare for. In what world do I have any say in how this game goes? What do I do to guarantee that I actually do anything in this game? This is not decided by what I do. My opponent entirely has all of the agency here. Smile. I lose 99% of the time if my opponent goes first. If I go first, I can play the game. Theoretically. But then again, they could potentially just draw all of the cards that they need. All of the removal and disruption and stuff like that. Now, granted, I have no idea what the game plan is here. I think the game plan is technically the runic, mill, but it's like a really weird runic stun style. So it's just kind of silly, right? But hey, maybe they draw that and I don't have a spell trap negate. Uh-oh. Time to die, right? But then you have very standard lists, right? Well, okay, not this one. Don't look at that one. I think it's this one. A very standard list. Very competent. It's top tier. It's a really powerful deck that you now also have to deal with, which play wildly differently and absolutely do not allow you to plan for them or to play around them. Right? Because they're going to require two very different sets of cards to deal with, right? So, deck building is a nightmare. Choosing what deck to play is a nightmare. Doesn't matter what deck you play, you're just going to get high rolled. Everyone's on these weird, wacky builds that are just going to absolutely demolish you as a person, right? But then, of course, you still have the meta. And this is where I think Diamond in particular, and more specifically Diamond 5 and 4, are nightmarish, even after the beginning of a season. And that is the simple fact that in these areas, people don't care. They're not trying to climb, per se, but they're also trying to climb at the same time. So it's this weird dichotomy of players casually playing, right, surrendering immediately as soon as they feel like it. So you just don't get to play the game, right? Games where it's decided entirely by luck, because people are playing Infernoble or Grass variants or Stun or stuff like that, where it's just oh, the game was decided prior to us even loading in, right? And then you have a bunch of players playing a very interesting decks like Paleo and Paleo was the only one I could think of. My brain stopped functioning. Or what I was playing today, which was Tri-Brigade, you know. So, you know, there are people playing these interesting decks and fun, you know, having these fun games. And then I had MathMech today. Was it this guy? No, I played against MathMech today, so I'm having a good time. Anyway, the point is, by the time you get past about Diamond 4, a lot of the players, a lot of the player base, a lot of the people playing the game tend to kind of choose one way or the other, right? Which normally, by Diamond 3, gets to be about maybe not all casual players or all like competitive players, but like at the very least, if they are playing a casual deck, they're playing it competently, they're playing well, they're making interesting plays, they're not just immediately surrendering because now their rank like matters and stuff like that, and you at least get some games, which is nice. So at the very least, it's a little bit better. But even then, still across the board, people are playing really frustratingly large amounts of decks. As you saw, I played like no repeat decks. There were like a few stun players that I played, you know, or like I you know, there was like a couple of grass players that I played, you know, playing grass, and that grass looks greener. But across the board, it was all different decks, which is really, really difficult to play through and to deal with, right? So it just kind of feels like it's not up to me, right? By the time I get to Master Tier, it's mostly what I expect from the metagame, right? Some of the top decks and maybe a few rogue decks sprinkled in here or there, which makes things a little bit more interesting, right? At least for me as a competitive player. If you go down to the lower ranks, you have Platinum, which is also a nightmare because it's just basically baby Diamond, which is really frustrating. But if you go down even further to Gold and to Silver, at the very least, it's mostly casual style of decks and less focus on actual competent lists and more just having fun. So at the very least, there's that, right? But right there in the middle, it literally is just an enigma. It is just everyone trying their hardest to make me mad. I don't know what else to say. This is not necessarily an issue. This is just me basically spouting out nonsense and hoping that you guys understand. Because it is hard for me to explain to you how much I despise every new season having to go back to Diamond and playing. It's not so much that it is playing in a lower rank, but it's more so playing in such a chaotic rank where I basically don't get a choice in what happens. It just happens. Whether or not I get lucky is not up to me. It does not matter what deck I play, what variant of it I experiment with, right? It's like I can be playing one of the decks I'm most comfortable with. Doesn't matter. I can be playing the most meta deck. Doesn't matter. I can be playing a deck that is anti-meta. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what I do. Doesn't matter what you do. It's just a nightmare. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope that you guys did enjoy it. If you did, I like it very much. So appreciate it. And remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.